agriculture, so there's a definite aura that Bob carried with him for someone like myself coming from a rural constituency to, first of all, be one of the founding members, but second of all, to be the Minister of Agriculture.
He's just a down-to-earth, salt-of-the-earth kind of guy that was close to the people in his area. He loved.
I think there's also times when Bob was integral really in the direction of the party or the confidence that he gave other members of the party. And I think back to some stories that some colleagues have told me of the very early question periods after 2007 in a newly minted government, and where Bob took a few of those early questions as agriculture minister and just exuded, you know, such confidence and such passion in what he was speaking about. I think it gave everyone else just a little bit of a sigh of relief and thinking, you know, we're a new government, but we're going to be all right here.
Book here full of everything that member had to say about agriculture in this province prior to the last election campaign.
Mr. Speaker, I've got a folder here listing everything the NDP government, when they were in power, did for 16 years. And there's nothing. There's absolutely nothing.
As a new minister, I talk to Bob frequently. He has that ability to have his finger on the pulse of what Saskatchewan people are thinking, and you know, just for the amount of time that I get to spend with him, if I can pick up just a little wee bit of that, I would feel so fortunate.
This is one of the ones that stuck with me. Is he went to some community and he was by himself, and he didn't know exactly where. He forgot where the meeting was, in what church basement or what community hall. So he went by a hall where there was quite a few cars, and he thought, oh, this is pretty good, it must be the right place. So he goes in, and the people were really friendly and give him a coffee, and they're chatting, and he thought, well, this is great, I'm really on the right track where message is getting out. So the program started, and the guy at the front got up and said, hello, my name is Jim, and I've been dry for 6 years. And here it was an AA meeting that Bob had stumbled into, and he thought, well, they could be Sask Party members same as anybody else, and so he sort of stuck with it. Yeah. He is kind of a bit of a clown and a character. He likes a good laugh. And
no, seriously, Bob was a great ag minister and very, very popular. Of course, agriculture's doing much better since he moved on, but nonetheless, Bob was a good ag minister. Have I been talking loud enough? I want Bob to hear this.
And that would be, Bob, we wish you all the best in everything you choose, and thank you so very much for everything that you've done to build this party in this province. Take care.
There are a few people that are better in the legislature than Bob Benrod. I was always excited when I knew in question period that Bob would be asking questions when we were in opposition, because they were always pretty good. And I was excited even in government when they would ask an agriculture question, because that was going to be even better for reasons that you just saw there. Again, as I mentioned, when I first ran, Tammy and I were concerned about family, and unprompted, after our very first caucus meeting, it was a very exciting time in September of 1999, unprompted, Bob Benrod came up to me, which was pretty cool. I mean, I've been a political nerd watching TV, and I got to meet all these people I'd watched on TV, and Bob Benrod came up to me. He was the whip. Ellen Hermanson had asked him to be the whip. He came up to me and he said, I know you have young kids, right? I said, yeah, we have a young family. He said, well, this is a family-friendly organization. And I'm the whip, so you know, I'm supposed to look after attendance and all that. And he said, but I'll tell you, he said to me, if you need to go at any time for any family reason, you just go. We'll work it out later. And that put me at ease, and all of the rest of us that had young families, and that's the kind of tone he set in leadership in opposition, and continued to provide it in government. He was an outstanding agricultural minister. And Bob Benrod's legacy is that we will simply just never forget that this party was founded in rural Saskatchewan for the most part. We will simply not forget, in honor of all the members, but especially Bob, about the importance of rural Saskatchewan. Would you please welcome to the stage to accept this small token, Bob Benrod, who helped build the Saskatchewan Party.
Thanks, Brad, and good morning, everyone. It's a little harder than I thought it was going to be. You know, I looked at the pictures up there of the 8 of us, and I can't believe I was the only one that was old when we got here. Bill Boyd looks like a kid when we started. You know, and it's good to see Rod here this morning. We become very good friends over the years, and I often think of Ben Hepner, who had an office by after we started the party, and we were good friends, and we can never forget the big part that Ben played in all of this. He was an equal partner with the 8 of us, and of course now we got Nancy following in those footsteps, but Ben was just a great guy, and he would be so happy. I'll bet you he's watching down smiling. We're talking about Romano a little bit this morning on maybe it didn't go quite as he planned. Ben would really be happy about that. We've talked a bit this morning here about going around the province and going to meetings, and I had the luxury, Dan must be here somewhere this morning, I had the luxury in a lot of my travels, we'd have a Liberal and a Conservative to kind of do that balance. And I got to travel with Dan a lot, and no human being should be put through that in a lifetime. We talked a little bit this morning, and you know, if you've had a bit of a bad day and you're tired, and we come out of the ledge and away we go, and for some reason that night, I'm not sure, Don, if it was Mooseman and you were at another meeting or wherever it was, and we talked, and I drove up to this hall, as they said, and you know, you're tired, so you think, well, hey, a pretty good turnout tonight. To my amazement, you probably couldn't have a worse day than when you walk in and talk for 10 minutes, shake everybody's hand, and the guy said, you know, it sounds really good to us, but this is an AA meeting. And you know, I often wondered if we got all of them to vote for us, because they really were friendly. I just want to acknowledge the 8 of us this morning that, you know, were there at the beginning, but I also want to acknowledge so many of you here today, that when we went around the province, that you took time to come out, and like Rod said, that guy said in the store that day, right thing to do. Whether there was 2, 20, 40, whatever there was, many of you that are in this room today were there with your $20, whatever it was. And you know, I think Reg and Kathy are here this morning, and a lot of our other staff. I can think of Reg Downs. We were so fortunate at that time with only 8 of us, and some of us, you got to remember, were very green. We hadn't been elected long. Reg always thought he always thought 2 months ahead or 2 weeks ahead, what will happen if we do this? And some of us being so inexperienced and green, I was thinking, how am I going to go home and tell my mother? My mom was pretty straightforward and pretty blunt, and I remember after the day after the 8 of us went and the announcement was made that we were starting the Saskatchewan Party, my worst fear was going to the care home and seeing my mom, because I could just hear her saying, your political career is over, boy. She also has passed on, and I know she's looking down saying, way to go, everybody, it's worked out well. So I'm not going to take much of your time this morning, but this has been a great ride for me. I'm almost disappointed now after today to be stepping down, but to my 7 other colleagues from where we were, you know, we covered each other's back, partly through necessity, but partly because we became good friends and almost like brothers and sisters in June's case. So with that, I just want to thank everybody in this room. Stick with this party. We're going to need a lot of work to keep going into the future. And you know, those of us that are retiring are going to be out there, and we're going to be watching, and we're going to be critics and saying, what did they do that for? We wouldn't have done that. No, we won't. We'll be cheering you on from the bottom of our hearts, and keep up the great work.